Thanks so much for watching Virginia This Morning Live right here on CBS 6. Our next guest says, when you make small changes in your day-to-day life, those changes become habits, and eventually the habits become lifestyle. In this segment, Andrea Swipe-Murdoch connects with Carolyn Colleen about how you can live a fierce and fulfilled life. Here's that conversation.
Carolyn Colleen is the founder of the F.I.E.R.C.E Network and the author of F.I.E.R.C.E, Transform Your Life in the Face of Adversity, 5 minutes at a time. She joins us today to share her framework for living a fierce and fulfilled life. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being with us. This is such an interesting topic because one of my favorite words is fierce, and you've now created an acronym for it. So what does F.I.E.R.C.E stand for?
So being fierce, really embodying what that is that pushes us to the next level. So being fierce, embodying that. And I have a tool to share with you, which is BFF, your new best friend. You're going to love it. So fierce, breathing. So taking a deep breath, B for breathe. F for focus, focusing on your next goal. What do you have at hand here? So for example, when I use this going from meeting to meeting during the day, I take a deep breath. I focus on one goal. What is the purpose of my next meeting? Thinking about, okay, well, the purpose of that meeting is to ask questions. So my action, which is the next step, is going to go into a meeting with an inquisitive mindset and asking questions to gain more information. And the last step is fierce action. So in being fierce, taking whatever it is, that emotion, that sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight, when you think about that emotion that kicks in when we're either maybe a little anxious, or we have a little bit of procrastination, or we're dealing with maybe an emotion that doesn't serve us, we can take that emotion and turn it into fuel in which to push us in a positive direction that does serve us. And we can do that 5 minutes at a time. So breathe, focus, and fierce action, BFF. You can practice that 5 minutes at a time in order to get you to where you're going. And soon, let's say, for example, you're struggling with maybe social anxiety, and you want to take a deep breath, focus on the goal of being able to get through a meeting, right, and that fierce action of continuing forward 5 minutes at a time. Soon enough, that 5 minutes turns into 10, into 15, and you've gotten through a whole day.
So adversity really plays a major role in our lives. You were talking about just the anxiety and some of the things that you can experience over the course of the day. And these things, anxiety itself, may strike at the most inopportune times. So what role does adversity play in our development and building overall strength?
Yes, so being able to take a moment and give ourselves credit for where we've been. Now, with looking at anxiety, what is it that we need to do in order to become present? Taking a deep breath and remembering that we do have the courage. We have the courage because we showed up. We are here. And taking credit for that is where you can combat some of those self-limiting beliefs that may pop up during the day, which can lead and contribute to some anxiety. So taking a moment, breathe, focus, and fierce action to continue on through your day and reset and flip that script that might be going on in your mind.
And naturally, our outlooks change at different stages of our life, especially, as we look at unprecedented things that are going on in our lives, as well as many other aspects that just naturally come with age and progression. So given the experiences of your past and your current happenings, do you yourself feel fulfilled? How do you continue to feel fulfilled, even though sometimes things may go a little bit differently than planned?
Yes, things go differently than planned. And how do we pivot? How do we course correct? We course correct by, again, taking a deep breath, reflecting, taking pause, remembering what it is that we're after, remembering that perhaps even though there might be a little bit of a bump in the road, we can still course correct because the next 5 minutes are your 5 minutes in which to change the direction of where you're going. So being flexible. So I love this saying, she who's the most flexible wins. And so as we pivot and we move and we flex and we course correct, we can simply choose how we want our next 5 minutes to be.
Well, I love that. Taking things 5 minutes at a time is so critical, and it really, it breaks things down into small chunks that we can start to think about as opposed to us tackling a whole day. So if you can get control of 5 minutes at a time, as you mentioned, you'll continue to build on that until you do have control of that entire day. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
For those of you who are interested in learning more about F.I.E.R.C.E, transform your life in the face of adversity, 5 minutes at a time, we invite you to our website at wtbr.com/VTM.
Wow.
Bite-sized pieces. That is really, I mean, that's one of those, topics of conversation that when you look at that whole project ahead of you or whole day ahead of you, bite-sized pieces make it
Yeah.
able to
That was
tackle.
so good. I mean, 5 minutes at a time, because for a lot of us, just staying focused for a couple of minutes is a big deal. What I was thinking about there at the end? I met a guy who was a cross-country truck driver and drove back and forth, every other week or so. And I said, wow. And he went to, I think, San Francisco or something like that from Richmond. And I went, gosh, how do you drive from Richmond to San Francisco? And he went, you don't. You drive from Richmond to Ohio and Ohio to Albuquerque and Albuquerque and on down. And they broke it down into pieces. Like you can't even think about going all the way. And there it was. If you just kind of do a couple of minutes, for those of us who are a little hyper and unfocused, then you can break it down into bite-sized pieces, like you said.
And you know what's funny? I will be honest, friends with us right now. When I think, I'm sitting here thinking 5 minutes. Okay, let's make it 10. Let's make it 10 because we can get, and then that's not the point. You have to sit back and say, just 5 minutes at a time, Jessica. Don't look ahead to the next 10. Just be cool. Be cool, my friend. This is the inner dialogue. It just came out. I just shared it. This is true and honest.
Yeah. That's me too. I'm like, do I have to sit still for the whole 5 minutes, or can I be walking around thinking about it? Because one's not going to work.
It is, but fierce and fulfilled, and thinking about, in that same vein of 5 minutes, I heard somewhere along the way in the last couple of years that a way to relieve some, stress and anxiety and see things forward is that if it's a project that can be done in 5 minutes, right? Like cleaning up, just set the timer for 5 minutes and knock that out. And so it must be that magical pocket of time that makes it happen.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna take a deep breath. We're only going to be gone for a couple of minutes, so I'm kind of working into it. We'll be right back with more Virginia This Morning.